lads. I know this sounds dumb that I'm going live from my phone, but today we're gonna have a little bit of fun on my little YouTube channel. And not the kind of fun that's like, oh my god, I'm gonna get in deep shit. The kind of fun that goes, wait, you did this? Damn straight, bitches. For you see, we're gonna go on public walkways. But we're gonna see something. And as you can see, I literally live like 5-minute drive here. I'm at a park. I'm just trying to make sure I don't get nailed by any cars. As we see things. What kind of thing are we gonna see? Well, a thing. If you figured out my channel by now, and you know I'm a rail fan, and a foamer, and a bit of a nerd, and a geek, and I have actually been modeling, and I have a whole tote set aside for it, but I am working on a cutout, or more commonly a soda ash train right now. I have it is almost complete. And when I say almost complete, I need another like 25 or 30 cars to ensure that it is complete. But if you very kindly follow the phone and follow alongside, ladies and germs, there we go. Ladies and gentlemen, I can confirm this is a soda ash train right here. All of these hoppers are carrying soda ash or potash. Normally this thing would be stuffed up in banks, with the interchange to the old POTD would be. But for whatever reason known to God only, they stuffed it here on the old OE. But I enjoy such a thing as this. Now normally, these sidings would be either stuffed with log cars waiting to be taken to the sawmills, center beams waiting to be loaded up with lumber. Also, sorry for the vegetation. General freight traffic. I have seen mixed manifests where there was track work down the line and they needed to store freight cars. Now, it is very rare, but I have seen it once or twice in the past before I actually started doing all of this, where I have seen the 664 stuffed in here. Yeah, the 664 has been stuffed in here, in the hole. And if you hear the crossing gates up ahead of us, that's the Max. Which used to be, guess what? BN territory. So this used to actually all be BN in here. Back when BN took over the old OE. Now, I could be wrong on a lot of these facts, but you want to know something? I like being wrong. I enjoy it. Why? Because it shows I'm human. I'm learning. Now, okay, that was just a truck, a lorry. I thought they were knuckling all the cars together for a bit. I'm like, Jesus Christ, man. Give a guy a heart attack, why don't ya? especially on a sighting like this where the P&W does use this for storing cars. I'm on a public right-of-way, as you can no doubt see. And I will make this a very bold claim. I am filming from the right-of-way, from the public access, the public walkway right here. So if people want to bitch and moan about me not getting up close and personal and all that, well, they can jolly well kiss my little white ass. Because I'm not trespassing and looking at 9 felonies just to get some beautiful pictures of freight cars. Trust me, I'm not that stupid. I may be an idiot with the lack of a brain cell, but I'm not looking for felonies or to be put in a coffin. To be frank, this is the safest spot for me. And I believe if I look at this end CEFX hopper, I might see the Mary. Yeah, the Mary. Let's talk about it a little bit. The Mary is basically slang in the Northwest for the flashing rear end device that would be seen on freight cars. Here, let's see, is it on the knuckle? No, it isn't. Okay, and you can see right there in front, that's the back end of this siding. So this is actually the second siding, I believe. And you can see the first siding up here, and it ends, I want to say, just beyond the tree line over here. But this is all car storage. But initially, this was where, back when the Max line was part of the Oregon Electric, this was where interurban freight traffic ran. Now, there would be overhead poles. And what would happen is, if you've seen the 100, if you've seen the old Portland Traction 100 or even the 200, how they have the trolley pole on the cab roof. Yeah, it would happen here. But they had the trolley pole because when you're working with like the Maxes, when that was OE trackage, here's the thing. And most people will never think about this, but you had to have a circuit go from the top wire, the top of the wire, down to the rail. So the trolley pole basically allowed them to create that circuit to activate the crossing gates. But this used to be BN. The OE eventually went to BN. But here's the thing. Even though the OE went to the BN, they would use this area right here where these cars are. Let me flip this around. Where the cars are, to cut across. instead of having to go all the way into Gresham or wherever to Ruby Junction and meet the trains there, and then come back up on what is now the current day Portland Western, you could just cut across. Hey, it's lazy railroading, it's smart railroading, but there's a lot more to railroading than just lazy and smart railroading. Gotta remember, a lot of this trackage here never really would have seen anything heavier than an SW1200, maybe a Jeep. So things like SD70s would not be allowed down here. Not by a country mile. Even the SD9s, for how small they are, in a way, nah. You'd be lucky to see an SD9 down here. Hell, maybe sometimes you'd be lucky to see a Jeep 9 or a Jeep 7 bumbling along. But generally, this handled like SW1200s, SW1500s, NW2s. But why? Well, a lot of bridges had a thing, and they talk about this a lot in various shows that you may watch. Weight restrictions. If you've ever been over the old Cumbres and if you've been on the Cumbres and Toltec, buddy of mine who works there, Lobato Trestle, they still have to cut the lead engine off. And allow the lead engine to run light across Lobato Trestle before they work the engine coupled to the train across. And if they have a rear end helper, they cut that off. And once the train is firmly across and reattached to the head end helper, they then work the rear end helper over and reattach it on the other side. So it's a case of they reattach it, not to reattach it, or they cut it not just to cut it, but because, you know, you send 2 big Ks over it, they're gonna put that bridge right bloody through. And when that thing go wee, and the train go plunging into the gap, yeah, no thank you. You gotta be an idiot to believe that, oh, I can just send it. No. Mm-mm. You don't send it. You obey the regulations. You know, regulations, especially on something like this, regulations were written in blood. And people don't know this. But they were. Written in blood and regulations. I am coming up to a grade crossing. Now, regulations state that we must be looking both ways. And here you can see more soda ash. Now, if we were to continue down this secondary track right here, I'm going to move over past this wooden sign, because I don't want to get clobbered by a train, but if you were to shove everything back down this secondary track, you would have to be very careful. Because where the end of the cars this cut of cars that we just looked at is, that's where the broken rails are. And if crews aren't paying attention, you can put a train like this in the ground. This thing could go all over the dirt, and it would be a mess to clean up. Because not only would you have to get road cranes in here, not only would you have to get railway cranes in here, and not only would you have to get people who know what they're doing in here, there would be road closures. The Portland and Western would have to close ops or close down this section of the railroad. We couldn't store cars here. There would be no storage, no nothing. Not a bloody car would be stored anywhere near here. Once again, I apologize for all the vegetation in a way. I really wish they would trim this up so us foamers would have a nice easy spot to see these soda ash trains. But we're going to come to a point where you can see a bridge that I'm talking about. And also, I like seeing stuff like this because it gives me an idea as a model railroader. Okay, I'm working on my freelance railroads. What do I want to run on them? What would be a common thing on a Class 1 railroad? Soda ash. Okay, well I have a class... Well, not only do I have a Class 1, but I also have a Class 2. Well, I have two Class 2s. Or two Class 2s. Why did I say Clash? No, Class 2s. What would be a very, very real thing for a Class 2 to operate? Well, we're looking at it. A soda ash train. Yeah, but they're going to be a mile long, 2 miles long, 3 miles long. That's why you run the bastards at night. Almost every soda ash train I have chased on the Portland and Western, when I've just chased it without my camera up and recording, and I've had to drive and keep my eye on the road, has always started running at 10 p.m. and it's gone up to Tigard. Or it's gone over the pass, over Corn Pass to, and I said Corn Pass. Now, little clarification here. Corn Pass is short for Cornelius Pass, which was an old interurban line in and of itself before it went to BN and before it became part of the Portland Western. But it was the pass, and it is the pass for Portland Western choo-choos to get into, guess which route? Or guess where? Lake Yard. And you can watch the Portland Western trains go that way, or they could get close enough in on the trackage via Albina. And I have seen P&W trains at Albina. And if people are like, that's a lie, I've been to Oregon many times, and I never saw such a thing. Oh, they ran such a thing. You see, you gotta look at the real world for your model railroad at times. Like, I could imagine seeing things like, if they were to bring 700 out, or 4449, imagine seeing 700 just jaunting up here. And you can kind of see, like, right dead ahead of us. That's a bridge right there. And that bridge would have weight restrictions on it. Sure, you can park cars on it, but you can't leave them parked there. And I've seen them parked there for weeks. I've seen them parked there for 2, 3, 4 weeks. And here's the thing that people are going to look at. So this is what they call a desire path. But notice where it leads. Yeah, people were cutting across here. But as you can see, potash, soda ash train here. So I can confirm that the channels that say there's a soda ash train parked here are not lying. And of course, my favorite ladies, gentlemen, viewers, and friends. One must never forget the absolute 100% golden rule when you're foaming or chasing trains of any variety. Not only is it staying 25 feet back, not only is it no trespassing, but it is always respect the railway. For as one Chris Bowden would say, these are things that will kill you the minute you don't respect them. And I have seen people in the modern day get nailed by these trains. I have seen people decide that, oh, the real railroad is just like the model railroad. How cute. That explains why you're now missing an arm, you're in the hospital, and you're retired. Because you had the same respect for this as you do your model railroad. Ladies and gentlemen, don't be idiots. Don't be morons. Above all else, don't be stupid. If somebody is going to tell you, oh, it's okay, no one's going to hurt you, no. They're gonna ream your sorry ass. And I have seen the FRA get on people's cases about this. Buddy of mine who works for the railroad, he's told me he's watched the FRA one time chew a guy out. For guess what? Being clueless and careless. You never want to be clueless. You never want to be careless. Plumbing, electrical, the railroad, trucking, airlines, shipping, buses. Being an arborist, these are professions where one bad move, one wrong slip of an axe, one wrong slip of a boot, one wrong move is the difference between you having all your fingers and toes, arms and legs, and you going home to your family at the end of the night, and you going home in a coffin. I respect this stuff because nobody else respects this stuff. I will honor this stuff because everybody else is like, oh, that goddamn train stalls me out at a level crossing for an hour as it's crawling along. Most roads, you can't do that. A PNW, they have speed limits. A secondary line like this would have a speed limit, a speed restriction. A lot of times, there's going to be weight restrictions. Back when they could connect to the POTB before the POTB was cut off by storms, I believe that there was a bridge on this side that had a weight restriction on it, meaning that only so many freight cars could be allowed across, coupled behind the engine. And they would have to run they would have to literally double, triple, quadruple, quintuple that bridge. And people are gonna say, well, that sounds dumb. But it's true, it's what they had to do. Imagine, say you're playing Railroads Online, and they add in a brand new feature where you can lay a bridge with a weight restriction on it. Or imagine you're doing this in Railroader, and you're building a new line, and they lay a bridge with a weight restriction on it. What's going to happen? Let's say that weight restriction is 25 empty cars. But it's only 15 loaded cars, and that's with your engine on the train, and that's if you factor in the caboose. Now imagine trying to take that same loaded train across the bridge. It's liable to go it is liable to collapse. Also, you may notice that I am not stepping on the rail. That is a no-no. But that's the thing. But imagine if you had to do something like that. Like, let's say you're building a bridge over, like you're going up to the iron ore mine in Railroads Online. You have to build a bridge. And you don't want to use the metal bridge, so you use a wooden bridge. Well, then you would be able to do this. Okay, that wooden bridge is going to have a weight limit. And, that wooden bridge has a weight limit of, say, like I said, 25 empty cars. But they're saying it's only 25 empty log flats. Or 25 empty skeleton cars, right? So the math is going to become different for the hoppers. The bigger log bunks, the Greg's flatbeds, the Greg's water tankers, the Awal water tankers, the big Carson and Colorado water tankers, the coffin tank cars, the normal tank cars, the Waialua aggregate tankers, the DNRG gondolas, the EBT hoppers, the Betty and Boat, the Bodie and Benton hoppers, and then you got to factor in the engines as well. The Mosca, the Glenbrook, the Class 25s, i.e. the Montezuma, the Ute, Cortez and Del Norte, the Little Porters, the Bell's Gap, the FE and MV Mastodon, the Class 70s, the 125s, the Uinta Malays, the Uinta 062s, the Ferries at Cliff House 242s. Also, you gotta factor in your weights, whatever they may be.
The way she put it was,
that the weights could be things like, okay, so cows are going to weigh completely different to, say, beams, and that's going to weigh different to lumber, that's going to weigh different to rails, and that's going to weigh different to the raw iron, that's going to weigh different to the iron ore, that's going to weigh different to the tools, to the oil, or to the crude oil, to the refined oil, to the gold ore, to the gold ingots. It's to the gold sacks. Everything is going to have a different weight. And let's say they add in more new freight cars. Let's say they start adding in things like you're taking traction engines up to the farm. Okay, that's going to weigh completely differently. Oh, but then you have to have like low loaders. Okay, that's going to weigh completely differently. Oh, we're going to take and modify these heavy, gun carrying flatbeds. Okay, they're going to weigh completely differently with the gun, without the gun. And if the gun's got ammunition versus no ammunition, plus the ammunition car itself, whether it's going to be loaded or empty. You see, it's all about the weight restrictions. That's why a lot of bridges, you may see them with weight restrictions. And, it's the same thing here, Oh. So, yeah, you're going to be doubling, tripling, quadrupling that bridge a lot. And if you have to do something like that, it's going to be a pain in the ass. It's going to be trouble. But you want to know something? If it takes you 2 hours to, quadruple the bridge to a safe point, because not only is there a weight restriction on the bridge, but let's say there's a speed limit, a 15-mile-an-hour imposed limit on the bridge. You're going to have to obey all that. Because the bridge can't go any higher than 15 miles an hour. That bridge can't go any faster. You can't go any faster. You're liable to break the superstructure of the bridge. You're liable to, in no short order, find yourself at the bottom of a ravine. And it's the same thing on a line like this. People are like, oh, you're being too optimistic. You're being too chef. You're being too concerned. No, I'm not. I'm being realistic. When I grew up in California, I used to see a practice like this on one of the old short lines, where they literally had a bridge that had a weight restriction on it. A weight restriction so severe that they had to keep an ancient, I want to say it was an NW2, to move a single 5-car unit of container flats across this bridge to put them into this like shipping yard, because those 5 container flats double stacked, that was the absolute maximum that bridge could have taken safely. As railroaders, could you have pushed it? Yes. Is it a wise idea to push it? No. Now, you're going to be like, well, why didn't they just repair the bridge? It would have cost more money than the railroad actually made. So, what you would have had is somebody else having to foot the bill for a bridge. In fact, perfect example, right here. Let's say this is the bridge, and we have to cross this creek. Right here. This little guy right here. We're gonna cross the creek. Now I have a 75 car train behind me. This bridge is rated for 10 tankers and say a class 70. This bridge, we would cut the train, we would cut them across in 10s and bring the train along. And right here is that bridge again. More of a close-up side. But as you can see, I'm still about 25, 30 feet away. This then curves on... I'm not going to go any further than the bench here. But there you go. Soda Ash Train. A little bit of a history lesson, a little bit of a ramble. But I think for right now, we're done. So I'll see you in the next live stream or video or whatever I do on my channel. Whatever shorts there are. So yeah. Have fun. And look at the pretty ducks. Bye.